we've seen still video,
Hello, hello. How we doing, Patriots? It's almost 1 a.m., but I still got to do my preliminary hearing review for day 4 of the Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing. So, today we picked up from what happened yesterday. So, they were talking about the Lance Twiggs interview and, of course, the messages between him and Mr. Robinson, and then the Discord threads, as well as the note that was left underneath Robinson's keyboard for his roommate Lance Twiggs. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, okay. Once again, this was State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson, and yeah, it's preliminary hearing day 4. The defendant was present at the council table. Victim representative Erica Kirk was also present, and once again, the defense counsel was Kathy Nestor, Richard Novak. We don't like Richard Novak. We don't like Michael Burt either. They're both kind of poop heads, I'm not gonna lie. And Stacy Vieser. And then the prosecution was Chad Grander, Ryan McBride, Lauren Hunt, David Sturgill, Chris Ballard, and then County Attorney Jeff Gray. And the Kirk family representative was Jeffrey Nyman. Okay, so like I said, a lot of the first part was just talking about the Lance Twiggs interview, and that was Exhibit 16. So the court, or Judge Graff, of course, confirmed the audio redactions from yesterday's hearing, which was from timestamp 6:57 to 20:29 not to be played, and then timestamp 32:55 to 35:47 not to be played. Additional video only redaction ordered from 20:29 to 25:23. Only McBride and Lance Twiggs permitted on the screens, and the FBI bulletin 2 screenshots were accepted, which were the screenshots of Mr. Twiggs' phones, which was basically just screenshots from their text messages together. 2 further audio/visual redactions added, which was timestamps 27:18 to 27:25 not to be played. And then, of course, also 28:11 to 28:18 not to be played. The state prepared a second edited version incorporating defense flagged video inconsistencies. Parties confirmed alignment with 1 second. And then the state requested that 2 of those portions be restored, which was, well, they referred to it because they were doing their legal terms, and of course, specifically they referred to page 10, which the clip on page 10 started with was he, and then the timestamp 16:46, and then on page 11, and that got court approved, and it would be able to be published to the galleries and the cameras, which means it'd be able to be shown at the courtroom as well to the public media. And then they requested page 19, timestamp 32:55 to 33:07, which started with McBride saying okay. The court upheld redaction for that segment, but then on page 19, 33:27 to 33:40, court approved for publication to gallery and cameras, which once again just means that it'd be able to be shown to the courtroom and to the public media. So overall, I mean, we got a lot more of the Lance Twiggs interview than we were thinking we were going to, and that is a huge win for not just the state, not just the Kirk family, but for the public. That is a huge step towards transparency in this case. This will probably be longer than my other ones because I have a lot of stuff to go through. I want to go through. Yeah, that was a huge step towards transparency. Yeah, so then they went towards the framework for the publication of the phone messages, the Discord, and then the notes. Yeah. So, of course, as usual, the court wanted them to apply for 3 steps for the 3 different fronts, which would be publication to evidence, publication to the courtroom, and then publication to the media. And basically, per usual, the defense argued that the publication of the defendant's admissions, like they were arguing yesterday, creates presumed prejudice under Raidu Estates and Scaling, which I believe that was another case. And they kind of argued back and forth about that for a while. Yeah, they argued about that for a while. Yeah. Once again, it was basically just the defense saying that, oh, this is incriminating our client, so we don't want it to be shown because it's going to show prejudice, which is stupid because, once again, it's a public case. It's nationwide, and I really doubt you're going to find someone who hasn't heard about this by now, or at least hasn't heard about the case by now. The Kirk family attorney did show up to help argue transparency into wanting to get them released. And yeah, the Kirk family attorney argued victims' representatives' right to be present is hollow if evidence is withdrawn from view. Which I believe it was specifically, they were arguing that they'd like it to be shown to the courtroom, and that it doesn't necessarily have to be to the media, but at least to the courtroom, since the family members were there and they'd like to have transparency towards at least them. And they've waited 10 months for this to be shown, so just transparency on that part. And then, of course, after that, Judge Graff had to do his hearing. So he says that the court found no inherent or presumed prejudice requiring categorical restrictions, and they distinguished the redo thing, which we don't need to, you guys don't need to hear about that. Baba. Okay, so the ruling was that the ruling limited to this preliminary hearing does not determine trial admissibility. And then, of course, the defense objections were overruled, which basically means Judge Graff made it clear that though just because these things could be admitted perfectly fine in the preliminary hearing, that does not necessarily mean or protect it from not being allowed in during the actual trial. So the publication orders. So 6.1, which was the text message threads, that was admitted and it was published to the gallery and broadcasted to the public. So that was great. More transparency. I love that. But not all of it. The third to last page was redacted before publication because it contains a phone number and address for, I believe, family members of either Twiggs or Robinson. So most of it that was necessary or relevant was published, but anything that kind of gave away personal information was not. 6.2, which was the Discord chats, they were admitted, but they were only going to be shown to the courtroom and not to, of course, the media. So that was not broadcasted. And then the handwritten note, that was the same thing, was going to be able to shown to the courtroom, but was not going to be shown to the cameras. So we don't have that. And then they went on to play the Lance Twiggs interview, which I will cut to. Cause here, I'll play you guys, because I have that clip up. I'll play for you guys that clip.
You do solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give in this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
I also need to notify you that you are notified that statements you are about to make may be presented to a magistrate or a judge in lieu of your sworn testimony at a preliminary examination. Any false statement you make and that you do not believe to be true may subject you to criminal punishment as a Class A misdemeanor. You understand that?
Yes.
It potentially could be used as for punishment as a higher offense as obstruction of justice. In addition, I just want to make sure that our recording here is clear that you've also been given a federal agreement and a state agreement granting you immunity from prosecution for materials that you discuss now. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First, we're going to cover some of the things that you've already talked about, but to make it as part of this record. First, what's your name?
Full name with middle name or just first and last?
First and last is fine.
Okay, my name is Lance Twiggs.
And do you know Tyler Robinson?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
And this is the same Tyler Robinson that's been charged with the shooting of Charlie Kirk?
Yes.
And would you say when you first met Tyler?
I think it was 2023. I've known him longer than that, though. That was, I think, the first time I met him in person.
Okay.
And will you describe your relationship with Tyler when you first met him anyway?
When I first met him, I didn't know him super well. He was just a new roommate, so I knew he knew my friend group, and I knew he like playing games, but that's about it when we first when he first moved in.
Okay. Before we go on, I realized my mic was muted at the outset. Was yours on, your microphone?
No, I think I
Okay. I'm going to repeat those admonitions just to make sure we've got it recorded. Okay, so again, I placed you under oath. Just to make a record, I'm going to do it again. You do solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give in this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Hold on, I guess I thought that was the whole thing, but I guess not. I think this might be the full thing. So here, I'll click on this. Hopefully this is the right thing.
This meeting is to use your statement here instead of your testimony at a preliminary hearing. Understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in order to do that, I need to place you under oath and also give you an admonition about false statements, okay? First, you do solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give in this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
I also need to notify you that you are notified that statements you are about to make may be presented to a magistrate or a judge in lieu of your sworn testimony at a preliminary examination. Any false statement you make and that you do not believe to be true may subject you to criminal punishment as a Class A misdemeanor. You understand that?
Yes.
It potentially could be used as for punishment as a higher offense as obstruction of justice. In addition, I just want to make sure that our recording here is clear that you've also been given a federal agreement and a state agreement granting you immunity from prosecution for materials that you discuss now. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First, we're going to cover some of the things that you've already talked about, but to make it as part of this record. First, what's your name?
Full name with middle name or just first and last?
First and last is fine.
Okay, my name is Lance Twiggs.
And do you know Tyler Robinson?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
And this is the same Tyler Robinson that's been charged with the shooting of Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
And would you say when you first met Tyler?
I think it was 2023. I've known him longer than that, though. That was, I think, the first time I met him in person.
Okay.
And will you describe your relationship with Tyler when you first met him anyway?
When I first met him, I didn't know him super well. He was just a new roommate, so I knew he knew my friend group, and I knew he liked playing games, but that's about it when we first when he first moved in.
Okay. Before we go on, I realized my mic was muted at the outset. Was yours on, your microphone?
No, I think I
Okay. I'm going to repeat those admonitions just to make sure we've got it recorded. Okay, so again, I placed you under oath. Just to make a record, I'm going to do it again. You do solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give in this issue shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
And again, I'm going to give you the false statement admonition.
Sorry, hold on. They're saying that it's echoing, so
I think this one's mic is on.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, you know, I'll mute my mic.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so we should be good. All right. Is that mic on?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
All right. Okay, sorry about that interruption. All right, so you said when you first met you were roommates?
Yeah.
Okay. And then at some point, your relationship progressed to something more than just roommates. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
I think we started dating 2 or 3 months after he moved in.
Okay. And where did you live at that time?
St. George, in an apartment complex.
And is that apartment the same place you lived when on September 10th?
Yes.
When you lived there with Tyler, were you in the same room? Did you live in the same room or different rooms?
No, separate rooms.
And at that time, let's say September of 2025, what were you doing with your life? Were you working, school?
I was working. I was doing like bathtub and shower repair and stuff in new construction.
Okay. How about Tyler?
I think he was both working. I think he was working for an electrician company then, and he was also in a trade school for being I don't know, higher like ranking electrician. I'm not sure how the trade system works for that.
Okay.
But yeah, I think he was both.
What was his typical work day like?
I think he'd leave around 7 generally and get back around 3 to 4, depending on like where the job was and how long it was for the day. And then on certain days of the week during school, like semesters, he would then later in the day, I think around 5 or 6, go to school. So, yeah.
Okay. Let's jump to September 10th. Did he spend the night in the apartment the night of September 9th into September 10th?
Into September. Yeah, he did. Yes.
Do you know when he left the apartment on September 10th?
I don't know an exact time. I just know he left early. I heard him leaving, and he just said he had a long drive to work that day, so he was leaving early.
Okay, so early. Any guess as to what when that was?
I don't know. I would have thought it was 5 a.m. because that's when like an early work day was for him, but it was probably more like 4.
Okay.
I'm gonna have him spit out his gum just to make sure that
I can do that.
you're the tissue right in front of your laptop.
Oh, here you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so what time did you get up on September 10th?
Probably like 12 to 1 p.m.
You didn't have to work that day.
No.
And did you hear from Tyler? Did he call or text you before then?
No, he sent that message in the group chat I mentioned, but he didn't message me directly at all that day.
Okay. When did you first hear from him on September 10th?
It was at 11 o'clock with that like automated message.
Okay, 11 p.m.
Yeah.
What about, he asks you here, remember how I was engraving bullets? Was he engraving bullets before this?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when, but he had said he was planning to go hunting with his family. And he asked me for if we had a Dremel because he said he wanted to engrave messages on bullets. And I just told him where our Dremel was and told him to make sure he doesn't set off a bullet on accident in the house. But I didn't really think about it until then.
How long before September 10th was this that he asked about the Dremel?
I don't remember because he'd been talking about the hunting/camping trip for a couple months, but I don't remember when he was specifically asking to engrave the bullets. So
are we talking like a year before?
Oh no, not that long. It would have been I'd say at most a month before this was when he was asking.
Okay. Okay. Right. You talked about the note that he left. I want to bring this up, and I should say that these text messages that we've been looking at here are Bates number 54. Okay, the notes have been titled 16.3 with a note, and this is base number 58. Do you recognize that on the screen there?
Yeah.
What do you recognize it as?
That was the note under his keyboard that he was referring to in the first text of that chain.
Okay, so where did you find this?
On his desk underneath his computer keyboard.
And I assume you read it.
Yeah.
And then what did you do with it after you read it?
I believe I just put it back down on the desk after I took a picture of it.
Okay. And again, the time you read it was probably around 11 o'clock or so on the 10th.
Yes.
The night of September 10th.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And did you ever see that again after you placed it back on his desk?
No, I don't think I did.
And that was a desk in his bedroom?
Yes.
And that's a separate bedroom than your bedroom?
Yeah.
And now I want to go to what's been titled 16.2. And do you recognize this series of messages here?
Yeah, that was the server of his friend that I was mentioning.
Okay, and this is your phone again?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you recognize it because the big crack up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a server. Is this Discord?
Yeah, this is Discord.
And who are members of this server? I don't want names, just generally. Who are these people? Members of
This is his friend group. They played D&D together every week.
Okay. And I just want to scroll through this to make sure that you get a chance to take a look at it. Or go to the next page.
Mm-hmm. Or yes.
So Tyler Icom, who's that?
That's Tyler Robinson.
And these other people are just others that are members of the server.
Yes.
Jug, Barnaby, Marina, DM.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, DM means Dungeon Master. So these are most of them are names they're using in the game they're playing currently.
Got it. Yeah, it looks like the last text from Tyler looks like it's 8 p.m. And do you know what day this would have been? 8 p.m. on the 10th or the 11th?
I would think that would be the 11th. Because at least I think so, because I don't think on the 10th that he messaged anyone before me at 11. So.
And he turned himself in on the 11th, right?
I thought so, yeah.
Okay. So again, we're just going to go through this so that we have a record of the messages. Is that an accurate recording of that thread?
To my knowledge, yes.
And that was sent, looks like between September 10th and September 12th. Looks like the last day on this is September 12th. Screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so again, those messages covered from September 10th to the evening of September 11th. Now, September 11th, what time did you see Tyler on September 11th?
Yes.
When did you first see him on September 11th? So this is the day after the shooting.
Yeah, I saw him when I woke up. Like I said, he was up and around doing a lot of stuff around the house. And then I think I saw him after that message where I said I'll come home and say I'm doing laundry, because I didn't want him going to my parents' house right then when he said there was probably cops outside. So I went back home, and it was just him there, and I said bye to him, and then he drove off. So I just went back to my parents' house.
So he acted erratically. Was he pacing? Was he just sitting down, relaxing?
No, he was walking around a lot.
Right, and that's within the home.
Mm-hmm.
And did he talk about what he had done?
Didn't go into detail. I just asked him in person if what he said was true the night before, and he said it was. He started crying a little bit and said he wishes he hadn't done it, and then kept going around and just doing stuff, I think, to keep himself busy or distracted or something.
Okay. Did he talk about what he was going to do next?
And then eventually said that he would talk to his parents or turn himself over.
Okay. And when you left, was that how you left, understanding that he was going to turn himself in or go to his parents' house?
Yeah, and I didn't really want to be at our apartment while any of that was happening, regardless of what went down.
Okay. Okay, before he came home, had you seen the press releases, any of the media on this?
I'd seen one Instagram link a friend of mine had sent in our group chat,
Okay.
but I hadn't really looked into it at all.
And had you seen the images that were released of the suspect?
I did the next day. I don't think I saw any on the 10th.
I'm going to show you a couple of those images. Okay, I'm on the FBI's website. You can see the URL there at the top. This is some press release about this event. And here on the screen, you see these, looks like there's 2 rows of 3 images.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recognize the person in these images?
I wouldn't say it with 100% certainty just because of camera quality, but that looks like him in terms of the shoes he's wearing, the sunglasses. I don't think I'd specifically seen him wearing that hat, but he was usually wearing a hat, and then jeans. So it definitely, especially the bottom, the last 2, definitely do look like him. Oh, they do look like Tyler Robinson.
And you talked about that with your friends, right? This is like him.
Yeah, his friends. Yeah, I don't know if I don't remember if I talked about it with any of my friends. And then since I didn't have my phone after that for a while, and I still am not using social media, I don't know on my friends' end.
Okay. All right, I want to back up a little bit now. We've talked about September 10th, but let me get a little bit of context here. So, did you game with Tyler?
Yeah.
What kind of games?
We played some just kind of party games together, like anything that would be multiplayer with a group of friends. There was one game he really liked called Sea of Thieves, where you play as like a pirate, and you can fight against people, but most of it's just like fishing, fighting sharks, skeletons kind of stuff. We played some co-op games where it's like you both have to work together to win in whatever way. Way back when, like when I was just out of high school, when I first knew him online, we played some like shooting games together, but I didn't know him very well, so that was just when we had like a full friend group on to play, and he was someone that my friends invited.
Okay. Did you and he ever talk about politics?
He did more than me. I didn't really, still don't really keep up with politics very much. He'd usually talk about stuff he heard on the radio on his drive to work in like their work car, since it sounds like their whole crew went in the same car most of the time. But I wouldn't say super consistently, because it wasn't a topic I really contributed much on.
What about Charlie Kirk? Did he ever talk about Charlie Kirk?
I personally had never heard him talk about Charlie Kirk before specifically.
Okay. How about political issues? So did you ever talk about gender identity issues and LGBTQ rights?
No, not really. Usually if he did talk about politics stuff, it was relating to Trump or current like policies being like issued or voted on, I think. But yeah.
Okay, so before that you had been?
For a short time, yes.
Okay. And I understand you're going by Luna at some point?
To some people, yeah, but not as an overall thing. Sure.
Okay. Okay. I think that's all the questions I have for this portion. Let me check and see if I've missed anything. The Dremel that you talked about, you said he had asked for that, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And had he told you it was to inscribe bullets?
Yeah.
And so did you have a Dremel then?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was in our, like, our apartment, we had a section where we kept all our, like, random tools for household stuff in our, like, lower basement level pantry. So, yeah.
Okay. And did you give that to him or tell him where it was?
I just told him where it was, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording for the 1102 purposes.
All right. Looks like that was that video. All right, so let's continue. So as I said before, what you just saw there was State's Exhibit 16, aka the Lance Twiggs interview. So Twiggs identified as Robinson's roommate and romantic partner. They began dating 2 to 3 months after moving in together at St. George. Robinson's routine: he left for work around 7 a.m., returned around 3 to 4 p.m., and he attended trade school some evenings. September 10th, 2025, which was the day of Kirk's assassination, Robinson left apartment very early. Twiggs estimated around 4 to 5 a.m. He said he had a long drive to work. Twiggs woke up around 12 to 1 p.m. First heard from Robinson at 11 p.m. via group chat, automated message. The Dremel tool. The Dremel tool, which is used for engravings, so that's what he would use to engrave the messages on the bullets, which we'll come to that later. That was definitely my least favorite part of the entire hearing. September 10th, 2025. Yeah, anyways, Twiggs, Dremel tool. Robinson asked Twiggs weeks before September 10th where the Dremel was. Said he wanted to engrave messages on bullets for a hunting trip. Suspicious. But I suppose if you didn't think your partner was nuts, that wouldn't really be that out of the ordinary. Dremel said he wanted to engrave message, Twiggs found a handwritten note under Robinson's keyboard after receiving the 11 p.m. text. Photographed it, placed it back, never saw it again. And September 11th, Twiggs saw Robinson at home, pacing and busy around the house. He asked Robinson directly if what he said was true. Robinson confirmed, and then he started crying and said he wished he wouldn't have done it. Robinson said he would talk to his parents or turn himself in, and then Twiggs left. The FBI press released images. Twiggs identified the person as likely Robinson based on shoes, sunglasses, and hat. Overall, that was really good, and that was really good information that we now know. What really kind of surprised me about the Twiggs interview overall is how kind of unpolitical or that radical that Twiggs was. I mean, so far we've kind of been under the impression he leaves, he meets his transferee boyfriend, and then he gets super radical, and then he kills Charlie. But Twiggs, it sounds like Twiggs didn't really keep up with politics at all. I mean, sure, he still did the furry / transgender stuff, and I've heard some weird things they did. I heard their relationship overall was just kind of weird, but I was surprised to hear that Twiggs wasn't really political at all, and that they didn't really talk about it that much. So it'll be interesting as procedures go and as we move forward to hear what the courts really discovered as how Robinson became so radical, because we do know his family, his parents are conservative. So I'm really interested to see what really caused this radical shift towards the worse, which caused him to want to and to eventually assassinate Charlie. But yeah, that was completely something I would have never thought to be a thing in this hearing. But there's a lot of stuff that is shocking and that is really good clarification, and that's why I like the transparency. I mean, I would have just thought that the furry boyfriend was the one who radicalized him, but I guess that's not the case. I mean, I'm sure him dating a trans furry person probably has something to do with it, because it sounds like it was from trans rights / LGBTQ rights is why he wanted to assassinate Kirk. But I mean, yeah, that was a big shock. And then they moved for Exhibit 6.1, which they of course had Agent Davis back on the stand, and he testified for the 6.1, otherwise known as the text message thread between Robinson and Twiggs. And it was 18 pages of photographs of Twiggs' phones, which I'm pretty sure they detailed in the interview, taken by Agent Larson, who was an FBI agent, during the September 12th interview. Cell extraction confirmed. The first text sent September 10th at 11 p.m. Last text sent September 11th at approximately 7:42 p.m. Robinson's number confirmed against law enforcement records. Key messages read into record. So, I would read this whole thread to you, but I do have the video to play, and I think that'd be better suited for this. But the Discord, the notes, and FBI images, I will. Yeah, I will talk about that. But yeah, I'd rather show you guys the video for the text messages portion. So let's transition over to that. I believe you guys can see it now. I'm about to play it.
Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
This is a photograph of screenshots of text messages between Tyler Robinson and Lance Twiggs. This is a photograph of Lance's phone.
So sorry, you said photograph, you also said screenshot. Can you differentiate or clarify there?
Sorry. These are photographs directly from Lance's phone.
How do you know that?
In Lance's first interview, he's showing the FBI agents these text messages, describes them to the agents, and at that time his phone was photographed.
And you testified, I believe yesterday, that Mr. Twiggs' first interview was the morning of September 12th, 2025. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Were you physically present at that interview?
No, I was not there.
Have you spoken with the officers or agents that were?
Yes, I've spoken to one of those agents that was there.
So you stated that we're looking in State's Exhibit 16.1 at a picture of Mr. Twiggs' phone.
Yes.
Do you know who took these photos?
Yes, it was Agent Larson with FBI.
Did you speak with Agent Larson and confirm that?
I did.
And you kind of made reference to this already, but how did Mr. Twiggs initially show law enforcement the relevant text messages?
Yeah, during that first interview on September 12th, he shows them the phone and then allows them to photograph the phone.
And does he identify it as his phone in that interview?
Yes, he does.
Does he refer to any particular features of the phone that allows him to make that identification?
I believe the second interview he refers to the large crack in the upper left screen. So he identifies that from his second interview that was given on April 20th.
Did he have his personal phone with him at the time of the September 12th interview?
Yes, he did.
And was this same text thread that we're seeing in State's Exhibit 16.1 shown to him during his second interview sorry, let me get the date right, April 20th, 2026 at the Utah County Attorney's Office that we just observed part of in State's Exhibit 16?
Yes, it was shown to him.
Was he asked how Tyler Robinson is saved in his phone, like as a contact?
Yeah, just as Tyler.
Without saying it, obviously, did he identify Tyler Robinson's phone number?
Yes, he did.
Did you check the number that Mr. Twiggs gave as Tyler Robinson's phone number against law enforcement records?
Yes, I did.
And do they match?
Yes, they match.
Is State's Exhibit 16.1 a fair and accurate representation of the text thread or the relevant text thread between Mr. Twiggs and Mr. Robinson?
Yes, it is.
As part of the investigation, was a Cellbrite extraction performed on Mr. Twiggs' phone?
Yes, it was.
Did you personally review that extraction?
Yes, I have.
And according to that extraction, did Mr. Robinson and Mr. Twiggs exchange text messages on September 10th through 11th, 2025?
Yes, they did.
What time was that first text sent according to the Cellbrite extraction?
The first text was September 10th at 11 p.m.
All right, Judge, I would move to admit State's Exhibit 16.1, and then pursuant to court order, I would move to publish. All right, Agent, I'm not going to go through every single message, but I do want to have you read aloud certain portions of them. And I apologize to council, these are not actually given a page number. I have page numbers, but I'm happy to confer that we're on the same page as we go. So here we're looking at page 1 of State's Exhibit 16.1. If you could read a little more than halfway down where it begins Wednesday, 11 p.m., will you start reading underneath that?
Yes. So this would have been from Tyler. It says, drop what you're doing, look under your keyboard.
And I apologize, let me stop you there. How do you know that that message would have been from Tyler Robinson?
That's just, so any of the messages in gray would be from Tyler, and messages in blue would be from Lance. It's just the way the iPhone distinguishes the messages. And also Lance in his interview also acknowledges that, who was saying what.
And up at the top, who do we see that this thread is between?
Tyler.
All right, sorry to interrupt you. So read that again, starting from look under the keyboard.
So after that, then Lance responds, he says, what? And then he says, you're joking, right? And then Tyler says, fuck, I tried to delete that.
If we could scroll down to page 2. And if you can continue reading along.
Okay. And Tyler says, I'm still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. And then Lance replies, you weren't the one who did it, right? And Tyler says, I am, I'm sorry. Lance says, I thought they caught the person. And then Tyler says, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude and interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from the drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering.
If we could scroll down to page 3.
Lance says, why? And Tyler says, why did I do it? And Lance says, yeah. Tyler says, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything in the news about them finding it. We'll update you shortly, or sorry, we'll update you by midnight. And then Lance says, all right, stay safe. How long have you been planning this?
Scroll down a little bit, please, Kimberly.
And Tyler replies, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it.
We can scroll down to page 4 and continue reading about halfway down. I'll stop you about halfway down.
This is while they were spot, but I don't want to chance it while they were parked there. If they'd found it, I imagine there would be more commotion. Again, I'm sorry for roping you into all of this. You shouldn't have to worry about this. And Lance replies, does anyone else know? Tyler says, not to my knowledge.
All right, I'll stop you there. Let's move to page 5. So this should be page 4, so just scroll down 1, please, Kimberly. And if you could read starting sorry, Kimberly, scroll a bit more down. If you could read, I don't know, about a 1/3 of the way up that starts with guess.
Okay. Tyler says, guess I'm just sitting in my car watching reels for another hour, hoping this guy fucks off.
And continue.
And Lance says, are you okay still? And Tyler says, yes, check and spot again now. Will.
Sorry, now we're on page 6. Continue reading.
We'll update soon. He continues, the squad car was moved further away, enough that I should be able to move in. I backed off because I thought I heard footsteps, maybe a foot patrol, but the crickets here are so fucking loud. Gonna see if the road closer to campus is open so I can drive past and check shit out. Probably still closed off though. Getting worried, hard to know for sure, but I'm not finding my rifle. Could be in the wrong spot. Lance says, do you think they found it? And Tyler says, dunno, they haven't published anything if they have. And then Lance says, why did you leave it behind?
Oh, sorry, Kimberly, if you could scroll down.
Originally. Also, does it have a serial number?
We could scroll to page 7. And I'll continue reading. I'll stop you on this page in a little bit.
Okay. So Tyler continues, IDEK, if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me, I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits, didn't have the ability or time to bring it with.
And stop there, please. And then if we could go to the next page, page 8. And if you could start at the top.
Okay, so Lance says, was your change of clothes there, or was that also gone? Or did you bring those with you originally? Anyway, you could replace the gun, or would he notice? Then Tyler says, only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. I'll bet that canine sniffed it out. Little snitching bastard. Replace it, unlikely. I don't fully know what the gun was, because it was old as shit, and Gramps did some modifying. There was a 4-digit serial on it. God only knows who it's registered to. Hopefully some dead guy who gave it to Grandpa. And he continues, remember how I was engraving bullets? The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke.
And then continue. I'll stop you in a moment.
He says, all right, I'm going to have to leave it. That really fucking sucks.
Let me stop you there. And then if we could go on to the next page, page 9. And do you see the first blue message we see on page 9? Can you start there?
Yes. So Lance says, do you need it for hunting? And Tyler says, no, my dad wanted to use a high caliber for the rifle hunt. Judging from today, I say Gramps' gun does just fine. IDK. I think that was a 2K scope. Lance says, geez. And then Tyler says, OMW home 3.5 hours. Lance says, drive safe. And then Tyler says, delete this exchange.
And I'll stop you right there. And then, sorry, we're on page 9. If we can scroll to page 15. And then the second grade message on page 15, if you could start there.
Okay. So this is Tyler. I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. We hope to keep things sort of quiet here.
And then I'll stop you there.
Okay.
And we can remove the exhibit from the screen. Thank you, Kimberly. We mentioned a Cellbrite extraction of Mr. Twig's phone. Do you know what time that last text was sent?
Yeah, I recall it was just before 8 p.m. on September 11th. It was, I think, 7:42 p.m. is my recollection.
I'm sorry, September 11th?
Yes.
Would September 12th make sense, or you're saying September 11th?
So September 11th was when he turned himself in. It would have been September 11th. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to show just for the witness, States Exhibit 16.2.
Okay. So that was the text message exchange between Tyler Robinson and Mr. Twigs. I thought it was quite interesting. What really pissed me off about it is how fucking cocky Robinson was about the whole thing. I don't know. Just some of the things he said in there, it just disgusts me on a different level. Based off today, I think it'll do just fine. I don't know. just everything from the way he talks in those messages to other threads he sent just disgusts me more and more the more I learn. I think he's a disgusting human being. God. And also, who the hell talks like that? My love. Fucking weirdo. Anyways, enough of that. The text thread kind of just discussed. Started off kind of just with like, hey, check under my keyboard, and that's where he found the note. And then after he put it back, he never saw it again like usual. And then after that, it was kind of confirmation Tyler admitted to Twigs that he did it. And then he said he was camping out in hopes of trying to retrieve the rifle back. But by the looks of the messages, it sounds like they got to it before he could get it back, and then he was on his way driving back home. Yeah. So unsettling. He just disgusts me more than anything. Alright. We'll move on to the Discord and FBI messages stuff for Exhibit 5.1. So, in Exhibit 5.1. So 16.2, Exhibit 16.2 was the Discord messages from Robinson's D&D friend group server, and his username was Tyler/ICOM, and his first message was September 11th at 7:57 p.m., approximately 1 hour before Robinson arrived at Washington County Sheriff's Office around 9 p.m., confirmed via subpoena. 16.3 was a handwritten note recovered via a celebrate extraction of Twigs' phone at RCFL Salt Lake City. Twigs identified it in both interviews as a note found into Robinson's keyboard. 16.4 admitted and published to gallery and cameras. Exhibit 5.1 provisionally admitted on day 2. Foundation now fully laid, relevant to victims targeting enhancement. And then Robinson allegedly selected Kirk based on Kirk's political expression. Court found it relevant and admissible, published to gallery and cameras. Agent Davis identified Robinson in court as wearing a gray suit coat and a green tie. And then the defense waived their cross-examination of Agent Davis, and the witness was excused. Through all that, so yeah, like as I said before, 16.2 Exhibit 16.2 was the Discord messages of Robinson's friend group on Discord that they'd play in D&D together. That I guess Twigs wasn't involved with, but he sent a message saying something like, "Thank you guys for everything. I screwed up. I'm the one who did the thing at Utah Valley University the other day." So he was admitting to his friends that he killed Charlie. The handwritten note, I'm not sure what was on the handwritten note, but they got that through seizing Lance's phone. 6.4 was the thing the other day that the defense just would not fucking leave alone. It was the whole statement, like the 4-paragraph statement written by someone from Turning Point USA. I forgot the guy's name, but it was basically just sharing Turning Point's political and religious belief, as well as Charlie's political and religious belief. It was now allowed in, so that was able to be put into evidence as well, because they laid a foundation through the Discord notes showing that clearly Charlie's political beliefs was a reason as to why Robinson killed him. So it helped enhance, which means it basically just helped show and give more insight as to why Robinson killed him, and it showed, this goes to help prove that he did kill him because of his political/religious beliefs. After that, they went into lunch break, and they were set to come back at 1:30. The state's equity. Oh, I'm tired, guys. Hold on.
First, the towel.
Here, okay, sorry. So, basically, shit, I really hope I wasn't muted earlier. I'll have to go back and see. Anyways, so basically, the next witness called was Sergeant Fawina. She was a primary crime scene oversight, so she kind of just helped oversee everything going on in the investigation. So the first thing she was kind of called to describe was the crime scene locations being processed. And there's 4 primarily scenes: the courtyard slash amphitheater, and that was the event site where, of course, Charlie's tent was placed, and where all the other people, the whole line, of course, ask me anything, debate thing, that was processed by the FBI. The Fulton Library, which was 2 bus stops with unattended items, backpacks, gloves, later termed not to be connected to the case. The wooded area, the northeast of campus, north of Campus Drive. So this is so basically they put like a map up, and Sergeant Famwina pointed it, kind of identifying the location and everything, and they kind of just went over what relevance this had to the case, and just went over, the wooded area where Robinson went after he shot Kirk when he jumped off the building. He ran to the wooded area. That's where he left his rifle, so the rifle was covered there. And of course, they talked about the low C center rooftop where the shooter's perch was, and of course, the red and black screwdriver. Yeah, and then the swipes on the ledge, and the light imprints on the glass window. So yeah, the first thing they kind of wanted to detail apart was the rooftop evidence and shooter's perch. The perch was identified via oblique lighting, gravel disturbances on northeast edge of rooftop. Distance from perch to Kirk's tent was 415 feet, 410 feet horizontal, 68 feet vertical drop. Screwdriver recovered, swipes on ledge, on edge collected. Light imprints and palm print on glass window below drop point. SBI finger examiner, Eliza Farmer, only 3 prints, 11B, 11C, and 11D of comparable value. Robinson excluded as source of these three prints. FBI examination of same prints, inconclusive. So basically what that's saying is that they thought that when he jumped off the building that he may have touched the glass, but they found that he didn't. And then of course the surveillance video they got as well. And of course I talked about the initial footage they had, and then they eventually got a better version from UVU, which helped them identify the suspect better and what he was carrying in the rifle. And then they went into the rifle and ammunition recovery. So the rifle was found in a wooded area, wrapped in a dark towel, hidden in bushes. Utah's County Sheriff's Office located it after reviewing security footage showing suspect's route. And FBI Special Agent Kamak physically retrieved towel and rifle together, placed on cardboard box, and they took a picture of it then, and then they removed the towel and photographed it with the towel off as well. And then they rendered it safe, which means they put back the bolt thing and emptied the cartridge, and that's where they found the cartridge casing, which was the one that was already fired. And of course, I believe it was 3 unfired cartridges. And all 4 of them had hand engraved inscriptions, which I will show you later after I kind of go over the whole rifle and ammunition recovery stuff. Here and I'll show you the video now.
First, the towel. What was done with the towel?
The towel was packaged and then it was eventually provided to the FBI.
What was done with the firearm?
The firearm was also packaged and then provided to the FBI as well.
Did the firearm go to the FBI or the ATF?
Oh, sorry, correction. It went to the FBI, and then to be in their custody, and then it was then sent to the ATF lab.
Okay. And the rounds, the cartridge and cartridge cases,
Yep.
the cartridges and cartridge case.
Yes, all those were packaged, originally provided to the FBI, then was sent to the ATF lab.
Right. And were each of those items tested?
Yes, they were.
And in the testing, were they photographed?
Yes.
Have you reviewed the photo, and were they photographed by the ATF when they were tested?
Yes, they were.
Have you reviewed their photographs?
Yes.
And were you previously shown States Exhibits 19, 20, 21, and 22?
Yes.
And are those photographs that the ATF, or that you received back from the ATF, of those cartridges and the cartridge case?
Yes.
Did they have the same appearance and etchings that you saw when you observed them removed from the gun?
Yes.
And did those photographs accurately capture those etchings?
Yes.
I move to admit States Exhibits 19 through 22.
Mr. Byrd. Additional objections. All right, I'll note the standing objections. Those objections overruled, and 19, 20, 21, and 22 are admitted. Now, as to publication, Mr. McBride.
I would move to publish these exhibits at all 3 levels.
All right, any further objection from?
No further objections.
Thank you. Again, I note the standing objections as are overruled. They may be published both in the courtroom and captured by the media camera.
Let us start with Exhibit 19, please. What are we looking at here in Exhibit 19?
This is the cartridge case that was recovered from the gun.
And what position was this in the gun?
This was this is what was in the chamber.
Okay. And the chamber meaning that's where a cartridge is before or when it is fired, correct?
Yes.
Do you notice an inscription or an etching on this cartridge case?
Yes, I do.
Will you read what that says?
Yes. Notices bulge.
And if we can go down to page 2 of the exhibit, will you read what this says?
OWO, what's
And to page 3,
this?
and question mark, correct?
Yes, question mark.
All right, if we go to State's Exhibit 20. Is this a photograph of one of the cartridges that was found in the gun?
Yes, it is.
And what are we looking at here in this view of page 1 on Exhibit 20?
This is the head stamp of it, and it says it is according to the head stamp, it is a Remington 30-06 Springfield.
Is that a different caliber than a .223 round?
Yes, it is.
Will you look at page 2 of Exhibit 20? Will you read the markings here?
A fascist,
And page 3?
catch,
And page 4?
up arrow, right arrow, down arrow, down arrow, down arrow.
All right, let's go to Exhibit 21. And was this another round that was found in the gun?
Yes.
Will you read the inscription here?
O Bella Chow,
Page 2.
chow chow.
All right, let's go to Exhibit 22. Another round that was found from the gun, correct?
Yes.
Will you please read the letters here?
If you read,
Page 2.
this comma, your, or correction, this comma, you are
Page 3
gay.
and page 4.
LMAO.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News.
I really don't know what to say after that. I mean, apart from the messages we saw earlier, and we saw how cocky and unserious he was about the whole situation, and that just makes me sick to the stomach and disgusts me. The bullet casings disgust me even more. Half of them are memes, like the one he shot and killed Charlie with, notice his bulge. That's so disrespectful. You have the nerve to kill someone, which is screwed up enough, but you don't even take it seriously. You treat it like it's another Tuesday. You engrave a bunch of memes. It's horrible. It's disgusting. It just goes to show how demented Robinson's brain had become. Notice his bulge on the one he shot Charlie with. And the bullets were Remington 30.6 Springfield, which after I read off what all the engraving said, I'll show you a video which helps with the with the bullet thing, because they did mention the bullet that's found on the other roof that was a discharge from another police officer. The 30.6 is not the same. It's not the same. So it's not the same bullet. So that had nothing to do with Robinson. So it was Robinson who shot Kirk, if you didn't already know that. But yeah. And this is something I've kind of heard about it for a while, but we'll do that after we read off the other engravings. The other engravings were, I believe there's like the Bella Ciao one, which is an old, rebel song from Italy during. It's about communism and socialism, about revolution. They had the Hey Fascist Catch, which is insane. That one especially pisses me off. And there's the If you read this, you're gay. Just so fucking demented. It's insane. And part of my language, I know I shouldn't be swearing, but with this, I don't know. This fills me with rage to another level. Okay, now that we got the bullet encasings left, this next clip I'm about to show you is from the Charlie Kirk show for the aftermath of the Day 4 hearing. And they were talking about, because if you guys didn't already know it, the bullet that hit Kirk, it fragmented so bad that it was unrecoverable and that they weren't able to identify it as a 30.6. But seeing as the shell casing was a 30.6 shell casing, and saying Robinson did admit he did it, they pretty much just assumed it was a 30.6. So I mean, I think it was obviously 30.6. And a lot of people have used the 30.6 thing, saying, well, if it was really a 30.6, it would have blown through them. But that's not true. There's been occasions where, though it's really rare, it doesn't always go through. Like MLK. MLK got shot by 30.6 too, but it didn't go through him either. But there's more evidence to show that it wasn't that just it was a rare occasion, but that the Remington bullets that were used were different. And I've heard this theory for a while, that the 30.6 bullet that was used to kill Kirk. Have you guys ever heard of fragmentable bullets? I forgot what they're used for. I think they were used for like test shooting more. But they're literally designed that upon impact to like shatter or like fragment into like really small dust particles or really small fragments. They're designed to do that, so it doesn't leave an exit wound. That's what they're designed for. And it sounds like it's something similar with these specific Remington spring bullets. Here, I'll play the clip for you, but it was along the lines of that, or at least something like these bullets were more soft, and that's why it didn't get through. So there's an explanation for it. So that's just more evidence as to when people say he didn't do it. Yes, he did. So here, I'll play that for you guys.
Our show tomorrow during Day 5. But he put out a tweet, and I just want to make sure we address it. So he's looking at the photos shown in court of the type of bullets, okay? He said, Remington head stamp on the case, and despite the somewhat low resolution on the photo, you can see the somewhat blunted nature of the projectile's tip. This is a Remington core-locked soft point round. Core locked. Correct. And I think we have an image of that brand, if you guys want to put it up there. Specifically designed, this is what he says. So this guy's an expert in ballistics. He makes bullets for a living. He says it's specifically designed to deform, slow down, and prevent an exit wound. Available at literally every single gun store and sporting goods store that sells ammunition. He goes on, Graham. He says, in fact, 16 out of the 17 30-06 varieties manufactured by Remington use some type of expanding, deforming, or fragmenting bullet. Okay? 16 out of the 17. Graham, this is an important piece for the internet of it all. Maybe just reflect on that for a moment as we wrap up with you.
Okay, so there you heard it. The specific, like, as I said, 16 out of 17 Remington 30.6 bullets are that core lock bullet, which, as I said before, with the fragmentable bullets. So obviously it's not the same as the fragmentable bullets because it was broken into shards, and the fragmentable bullets mainly turn into particle dust. So it's not the same, but is a similar concept, where these bullets are designed not to leave an exit wound, and they're designed to break apart and designed to be more soft, so they do break apart when they hit. So, and if it's 16 out of 17 bullets that are made that way of the Remington's 30-6, that makes a lot of sense. And that looked a lot like the bullets that had the engravings in it. So, I mean, of course, this isn't submitted to court, but I think, I mean, like that wasn't specifically just in court. But I would say, seeing that did come from, like a ammunitions expert, that is pretty safe to say that is a good explanation as to why there was no exit wound. So that's another thing. If somebody comes at you with a crazy theory, you can easily explain it away with that. So there you guys go. Let's continue on. So the next thing they went on to was, I believe, this went on to, of course, the search warrant and booking Robinson. So St. George search warrants and residence evidence. Robinson arrested in St. George, and his clothing was collected, which was a maroon top, his pants, underwear, shoes, and pocket contents. And then they also searched Robinson / Twig's townhome, and the second floor southeast bedroom was Tyler Robinson's, and then across from his room, which was the southwest bedroom. No, my bad. On the southeast, there was 2 bedrooms like parallel to each other. One was Robinson's, and one was a spare guest bedroom. And then of course in the southwest bedroom, it was Twig's. So yeah, and then never mind. So yeah, no, Tyler's was the southeast bedroom. The spare bedroom was southwest bedroom, and then Twig's was the north bedroom. My bad, I got that mixed up. And then there's a spare bedroom as well, and on top of a safe in the spare bedroom, they found 5 30.6 cartridge casings, 1 engraved test shot, and they had that marked as Exhibit 23. There's no 30.6 rifle found in the home though. And the first floor closet had shooting targets with perforations. This was Exhibit 25. Dremel tool with bits, which is Exhibit 25 as well. And then the kitchen trash, there's a partially burnt paper note with visible handwriting. That was Exhibit 24. Shown side by side with Exhibit 6.3, which was a note from Twiggs' phone, published to courtroom only, not broadcasted. So that was kind of just saying, hey, this burnt note probably was the notes that Robinson wrote for Twiggs. And then they also searched Robinson's parents' homes, where they collected the gray Dodge Challenger. And then the Dremel tool and bits were sent to ATF for testing. Yeah. Okay, so we'll go on to that. Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to think on when I could bring up freaking Burke being a shithead. I can do that after I'll talk about that after I finish. Or I'll mention when it happens, but I'll show a clip that was also on that same episode of the Charlie Kirk show that I just showed of the Remington core soft bullet, or the core lock bullet. But anyways, so the AFT and FBI forensics reports. So Exhibit 30 was the ATF DNA rifle and cartridges. So it's the DNA on the cartridges and the rifle. So the DNA is at least 1 trillion times more likely from Tyler Robinson as a major contributor across all 6 calculations covering stock, grips, bolt, butt plate, trigger guard, fore end, barrel, scope, and cartridges. So what that's saying is that it's 1 trillion times likely that the DNA on there was Tyler Robinson for all 6 of those calculations, which means his DNA was on, once again, the covering stock, the grips, the bolt, the butt plate, the trigger guard, the forend, the barrel, the scope, and the cartridges. That's a lot of DNA evidence. Just saying. It kind of sounds like it was him, you guys. Kind of sounds like it was him. Exhibit 32 was another ATF tool mark / ballistics. So, I think this is. Okay, so this is okay. So the ATF tool mark / ballistics. So they test fired the rifle because, as I said, in the closet, they found like test shooting things. So they identified, and they found a bunch of like guns or whatever, of course there, but they found a lot of 30.6, and we know the rifle is what used the 30.6. So they did a few test operations. So anyways, they fired cartridge case from chamber identified as fired in Exhibit 1 rifle. Cartridge case and cartridges show tool marks consistent with engraving / rotary cuffing tips, e.g. Dremel. Bullet fragments. So this is kind of when they went over the perforation thing. So they have a way of like identifying if the perforations were the same of the bullet, and they kind of showed like a few examples of it off of like a very zoomed in marking lines thing, and they were basically just showing. They were showing like, so they did like a test shot. There's like show evidently, and they were trying to compare that to the bullet that was found in Charlie's autopsy, which they showed the bullet fragmented, but I'm not going to show that simply because that was hard to look at. It's not like it was bloody or anything, but it's just I just looking at that and thinking that was what killed Charlie. I don't even want to think about it. But what you need to know about this is based on the test thing, just that the bullet that Charlie was killed by was so fragmented that they couldn't really get anything out of it. So it was so fragmented that there was really kind of inconclusive for results. So the next exhibit, Exhibit 33, was DNA again on the Dremel and the safe cartridges. So the DNA is at least 1 trillion times more likely from Tyler Robinson on Dremel buttons, cord, metal bits, and test shot cartridge case. So what it's saying is that the DNA found on, once again, the Dremel buttons, the cord, the metal bits, and test shot cartridge case, it's 1 trillion times likely that that was from Tyler Robinson than another person. So once again, just more DNA evidence that he did it. And then there's Exhibit 34, which was tool mark Dremel bits versus cartridges. So 34 was ATF toolmark, Dremel bits versus cartridges. So the Dremel bit is 15A longest, identified as having tool marks on the fired cartridge case, the 3 unfired cartridges from the rifle, and the test shot casings from the safe. So, I'm not gonna lie, I wrote that down, but I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what that means, and I'm not an expert, and I quite frankly don't remember what part of the footage that'd be from. I'd have to show you. So we're just gonna skip over that. I assume it was another test firing something. So anyways, then they moved on to a new witness who was Samantha Carner. She was the firearm and tool smart examination. She was part of the ATF forensics lab science. And then they kind of just went over her credentials. I think this is where the defense guy Burke became a shithead and was being a craphead again by stalling and kind of filibustering half the fucking day away by trying to poke holes in the results from the bullet testings, trying to poke holes in that, saying, well, I don't know if this was professionally done right, so I don't know if this is really credible, is what he was trying to say, but in a shithead way, because he was being a shithead to... Whatever, I'll play that later for you guys. But anyways, ATF Forensic Science Lab, Washington. Yeah, she works at the ATF Science Lab, or she did, and she went to Washington for school. No, she worked at the ATF Forensic Science Lab in Washington, and she had 6.5 years at ATF. She has prior crime scene investigator at the Winston-Salem and Arundel County department, and then she has latent fingerprint tech on IEDs. Her education was BS Forensic and Investigative Science, West Virginia University, graduated National Firearms Examiner Academy, and then they went over the examination process. So class characteristics were calibers, rifling direction, land/groove counts, 6 right conventional fire rifles, diameters due to deformity, GRC search produced list of possible .30 caliber bolt action and other firearms list not inconclusive. That's more logistic stuff about firearm crap that I don't know about. So we'll go to the key conclusions I had written down. So fired cartridge case identified as fired in Exhibit 1 rifle. Bullet jacket fragment 6A, inconclusive, insufficient agreement, and insufficient disagreement. Lead fragments, unsuitable comparison. So I think this is what I was talking about earlier. How they did a test shot, and they wanted to see how it would line up with the bullet that hit Kirk, but as I said before, it was so fragmented they couldn't really do it, so the results were inconclusive. Here's the fun part, the cross-examination highlights, because Burke was being a craphead. I shouldn't be swearing as much. I know I'm upset, but I'm kind of doing overkill in the swearing. But, yeah, I'll give you guys some key points in the cross-examination, because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of that was a bunch of baloney. So, I mean, a lot of the cross-examination was baloney, like it usually is. And he said things that really were just not needed. I mean, it frustrated me. Anyways, cross-examination highlights. So, they acknowledged the AFT theories is subjective. Sufficient agreement varies by examiner. So that's saying is that there was a few people that didn't think their methods was really, proper methods. They didn't think they were good methods. So it kind of varies by examiner whether they think or not how they did their examinations was really the right way or not. Then it's more a bunch of logistic stuffs. So a lot of it was just logistics stuff about like how their examination stuff works that I don't quite understand, and I don't feel quite comfortable explaining to you people because I would not explain it right. But what you need to know is that a lot of it was just Burke trying to poke holes in the testimony, and part of the out-of-pocket stuff he was saying was towards Erica, which I'll play that. I don't know if this next clip does have it, but part of it was I believe it was Miss Carner, right? Miss Carner was explaining that after she did her examination, they had someone look over it to make sure that they agreed, and I guess the defense requested to get the results from the second look at it, but Miss Carner tried to explain politely that them double checking would have been on Miss Carner's report as well. And then he just blatantly said, "Do you think science is best effective in secrecy?" Which is blatantly out of pocket. You don't need to be aggressive or accusatory to a witness on the stand. Like he was being very passive aggressive and accusatory towards Miss Carner the whole thing, and you could tell he was being a douche. It was unacceptable. But I'll play that clip. I was referring towards him being disrespectful towards Erica. If I can find it.
Sympathetic to victims of crime, and this is a woman who lost her husband. Her watching all of, and then there's probable cause is found, and Mr. Robinson is bound over for trial. That he even has to enter a plea to the case. So there's just this
so
step
painfully
to get
slow.
through.
It's so painfully.
So we're
slow.
likely.
Okay, I think I may have at least found something similar up to that point. So I'm gonna switch that over for you guys. Okay, I'll mute.
To get past, since it sounds they'll have the hearing on September 1st, but then they have to wait. We're likely to get past the 1 year mark before a plea is entered in this case.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. Now, the way around that, I think, would be if Judge Graff did what would be extremely atypical for him, and that is rule on probable cause from the bench at this September 1st hearing. But he, like everyone, he's been very careful. He's taken the care to make sure that, one, he is entertaining the arguments of the parties, but also that he is documenting his decisions and his thought process so that that's in our record. It's available for review for everybody. And that takes time as well. So hard to imagine that happening before the 1 year deadline.
Andrea, so if he did rule from the bench, which apparently is at his discretion to do so, I don't see why that would be a problem given the breadth and depth of evidence that was just presented to him. Does that sort of, the reason he may not choose to do that is to look impartial, to look fair, and to protect this case from appeal down the road? Is that kind of the logic for not doing that?
Yeah, I think it's all of those things. I think that he has, although not, he doesn't have a perfect record on transparency, but he has certainly, I should say, maybe he's not a maximalist as I am, but he has certainly appreciated and recognized the importance of it. And so the thought process, being transparent about that, I think is something that's important to him, to make sure not just that we know what the ruling is, but why he reached that ruling. And so I think also, like you said, the fairness to the defense, so that they're on notice, and if they take any issue with it, they can dispute it, they can appeal it, and then there's no concern about somebody's rights being trampled.
All right, so I think then my questions now, Andrea, go to this back and forth, and you saw Kirk family representative Jeffrey Nyman get in the mix here. This balancing this tension between transparency, you said you called yourself a maximalist. I think it's fair to say that the Kirk family and the state have been more on the transparency side. The defense has been arguing to keep certain exhibits from the public. How do courts weigh this question of transparency when it comes to the evidence and bias for a potential jury or tainting a jury pool? I saw you posting about, I believe it's Estes, and then they kept referencing the French name. You probably know it, Andrea. What is the I guess predicates or precedents rather for this, and what is Judge Graff trying to balance here?
Well, it's a very large question. The issue with Estes and Rideau goes to televising and the presence of the cameras, and these are rather old precedents from the U.S. Supreme Court in the early days of television itself, where they were quite hostile to the intrusion of the cameras, and so that reasoning and those decisions have largely been overridden by subsequent developments in the law. But that said, it always remains a concern about if jurors are exposed to too much information, particularly information that's of the kind that's likely to have a real big impact, the kind of thing that's hard to ignore, then it's hard not to prejudge the case. And then it just becomes that much more difficult to find impartial jurors. What we've seen in the case law developing since these early decisions and the hostility to television, first off, a recognition that this is universal. This doesn't depend on TVs. This is going to be an issue with newspaper coverage as well. It's about information and access to it. So there's no real reason to be hostile to the television per se. It's not adding any kind of problem like that. But we've also seen a growing acceptance of this idea that the time to sort out those issues is in jury selection. It's easy to lose perspective or to I guess project our interests and our viewpoints on the rest of the world and assume that everybody is paying attention to what we are and to the with the same degree of focus that we are. But the reality is that those of us watching all of these intricate details of this case, we are the minority. And so that's jury selection recognizes that, and that, yes, there almost certainly will be people showing up asked to try the case who will know too much, will have too firm opinions. But that's what the process is for, is to sort those people out so that we can find the ones who have spent the last week looking into the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce wedding instead.
Right. And by the way, there is this mutual tension because in a case this high profile, you have a whole cottage industry of conspiracists that have invented all of this stuff. And so I have the same concern, right? So if the defense is going to raise the concern that this could unduly bias a potential jury, I have the same concern, but the inverse of it, that if we don't get these facts transparently made available to the public, that there will leave a void, a chasm that will be filled by conspiracies. And if that happens, then we could taint the jury in the other direction.
Absolutely. I think that's very legitimate. We had the evidentiary hearing on the defense's motion to ban the cameras. They had done a public opinion survey. It was done by the same guy, actually, who did a public opinion survey for Brian Koberger over in Moscow, Idaho. And so that was fresh in my mind when we watched him testify here. And the disconnect between those two cases, the disparity in the public opinion, it's hard to overstate how significant it was. In Brian Koberger's case, there was something like 98% of the community, knew about it, overwhelming opinions of guilt. And we're not seeing that in this particular case. It was more like 50-50 in terms of prejudgment of guilt. And so I think that the alternative theories are a big reason why, because from my perspective, if I were to put these probable cause affidavits side by side, the amount of evidence we're dealing with here overwhelms what was available in Brian Koberger's case at the same time in the process.
Well, I think we all understand where some of that's coming from, which is why what Jeffrey Nyman said, he when he was arguing on behalf of transparency, he said, Judge, you have tools at your disposal to deal with that, and I believe you mean during jury selection. So we kind of dealt with this with Jolene as well, who's a jury consultant. She did OJ, and she did
Joellen Demetrius.
Yeah, what did I say?
You said Jolene.
Jolene,
like the Dolly Parton song.
Yeah, no, Joellen. Sorry, Joellen Demetrius. She did the OJ Simpson trial. She did Enron. She's done a bunch of big, high-profile cases.
Daniel Penny.
She was saying, kind of floating out some options that the judge would have at his disposal to sort of sort through the jury selection process. So putting that hat on, Andrea, what would be at the judge's disposal as you see it?
Well, these can be challenging issues. There's really no question about it, because what you're trying to do is sort out bias. But the problem is that bias we aren't always aware of it. And so it isn't always something we can disclose and talk about. That said, it's been extensively studied. I'm sure that your jury consultant has done a massive amount of that type of thing. And so there have been techniques developed to kind of be able to suss out things that might lead you to conclude that a person has prejudged a case, even if they aren't necessarily aware of it. But generally speaking, the tools are you expand the jury pool. If you normally call in 100 people for your jury veneer, we already know it's going to need to be more than that for this case, just because Charlie Kirk is so high profile, the case is so high profile. But say you normally call in 100, then maybe you call in 200 so that you know that you can get rid of more and still have enough remaining to come up with a jury. You do pre-jury questionnaires. You expand the questioning. You allow extended questioning about what they've been exposed to and what their thoughts are and their opinions. You do individual questioning behind closed doors if you need to get into specifics, meaning closed doors, just meaning away from the other jurors, so you're not tainting them with extraneous information, but to talk to them real specifically about maybe what they have seen, what they have read, details that they picked up, and things like that. And so just getting the largest number of people available and getting as much information from them as you can is going to increase the likelihood that you'll be able to find 12 to maybe 16, for the alternates that are going to be ignorant enough about the case or just open enough about the case that they'll be able to judge it fairly based on what they see in the courtroom.
We can only hope. Yeah. Andrea, we have a few more minutes here. So a thing that really stood out to all of us here, of course, is near the end of the hearing where Michael Burt, one of the defense attorneys, while they're discussing whether they're going to see this John Madden style video of things, he tears into Erica Kirk specifically by name, talks about her holding these press conferences,
which never happened.
Which, yeah, exactly, doesn't happen. Treating the prosecutors like they're her personal attorneys. It's a really quite personal attack. We were talking about that with Graham as well. And I guess what I'm wondering for you is, first of all, have you seen something like this before? It seemed very unusual. What's the strategic reasoning of this? Just what do you make of this, that it happened? Is it as appalling to you as it is to us? And it's okay if you say this is more common than you think.
No, actually, I was very surprised. I was quite taken aback myself because I handle victims with kid gloves. It's not in your interest, the overwhelming majority of the time, to be aggressive with the victim. People are naturally sympathetic to victims of crime, and this is a woman who lost her husband. Her children have lost their father, and so it's hard. It's hard not to have a massive amount of sympathy for that, and so it can really, really backfire among the people who are more inclined to appreciate what Erica has gone through. To see her, being attacked like this. I have a hard time really seeing what the strategy is.
Well, I think it was a mask-off moment, Andrea. I think he just forgot himself for a moment. I mean, he's an elderly man, and he was probably getting frustrated. He was probably focusing on this mundane minutia for so long that he just. I mean, it was egregious to me watching it. I was very upset.
That's charitable. I am worried that his strategy is, as you said, that apparently in the local area, people are more 50-50. I'm worried he is, in fact, pandering to, there's basically a cottage industry. People have made entire careers as podcasters and whatnot basically turning Erica into this like soap opera villain.
Well, and by the way, to do it without any factual basis, there was no press conferences accusing the Kirk family of treating the state as their personal, lawyers was just that's not true. They don't have access to the state evidence. This is why they're asking for the ability to see this video that they haven't seen yet. So the whole thing was just absurd. This guy, that's him, and he was Lyle Menendez's lawyer. But Andrew, you're saying this was very unusual.
I can't say it's unusual in the sense that, no lawyers do this. There are lawyers that do this. But I would have to say, I don't expect good lawyers to do this. I don't expect lawyers with his kind of experience to take this kind of approach with a victim. If he has complaints, and he may very well, yes, Erica has made some statements. They're not press conferences, it's I think the characterization of it that is so particularly nasty, and that's the revealing part. You do have to sometimes talk about difficult facts with victims. This is very common, to have to talk about difficult facts with victims. But the way to do that respectfully and in a way that is just less likely to hit us like this has, is to keep it factual, to keep it accurate, to not color it with accusatory types of tones and characterizations and stuff. So I was very taken aback.
It felt very passive aggressive and like a bullying tactic. So is there any way that if this happens again, I would be in favor of somebody lodging a complaint to the judge, and if this happens again, for there to be potential sanctions. I don't know. Is there anything like that at the judge's disposal?
I don't see why not. Under the constitutional victims' rights that are afforded to her, that includes the right to be treated with respect and dignity. And so if she feels that that's not being met, it seems to me that she would have the right under the Utah Constitution to bring that to the judge's attention.
Good to know. Andrea Burkhart, thank you for joining us again. We're coming up at the end of the hour, and we're trying to keep these things tight. Final minute here. Anything that we missed that?
All right, so they didn't play the video, but as I said, Burke, he just blatantly said not true. He accused Erica of he basically said that, she's got the state as her own personal team, which isn't true. She has her own legal representative. She has her own lawyer, so that's not true. And he's like, and she herself already has all of the state's evidence, so it shouldn't need to be published to the court. And then he claimed that she was having press conferences, which this isn't true. So now I'm going to go back and play the clip. I'm going to see if I can find it. I think it might have been way earlier. Here we go.
Just egregious that he did that. And we're going to play the clip because, we're talking about it. SOT 29.
We're asking the court to keep focus on the purpose of this hearing. And as the justices said in the Estes case, the purpose of a trial is to determine the defendant's guilt. It's not to educate the public or the victim's family or the world on what evidence the government or the state has. At some point, I think the court has to return to the purpose of these hearings, which is to expeditiously hear the evidence and then determine probable cause. And I want to point out to the court, Ms. Kirk has been very adept at holding press conferences at which she has revealed evidence. She has represented that the state is her attorney. She has access to all the evidence that the state has publicized and that the media and her own lawyer argues is already in the public domain. So they're perfectly free to go outside this courtroom under the court's protective order. They're free to go out and hold press conferences and announce to the world outside the courtroom what they think the evidence is. They have the availability of that evidence. But the court's role, I think, at some point is to exercise some control, move the case forward, and especially when we have witness availability problems. And I'd ask the court that whatever the court does, if you're going to allow revisiting or replaying of evidence for the sole purpose of informing the world or Ms. Kirk or anybody else, that the court do it at the end of the process and not at this point where we will be deprived of our ability to call this witness, because she has to be done today.
Okay, Mr. Burt, you just
I just realized my mic was muted. So let me repeat all of that. Okay. So what you saw in that last video was Mr. Burt and how disrespectful he was being towards Erica. He claims that, well, he was basically just saying that the court doesn't have to explain why they did what they did to the public or to the courtroom, and they should really just focus on, finding probable cause and determining whether probable cause was met or not. Which, to an extent, I think that's okay. Like, yes, the court should carry out its main function of, determining whether probable cause was met or not. But I do think transparency is as important because, as stated many times, this is a public hearing. This was a massively publicly politicized event, and massively public, affecting event. So I think transparency is one of the utmost important things, apart from justice for Charlie and deciding whether or not it met, of course, probable cause. But I think just to blatantly disregard transparency and to completely just ignore the courts and public's want for, clarity on why they're coming to these deliberations is just unacceptable. Apart from that, just how argumentative and aggressive he was being towards Miss Carter earlier on the witness stand, that was unacceptable as well. And then just the blatant lies he was just saying about Erica as well, saying that she was using the state as basically as her lawyer and saying that she had access to all the exhibits from the states, which is not true. She doesn't. She was sitting in court like everybody else and learning it for the first time just like everybody else. She has a representative. She has her own lawyer. You quit lying. And she never did any press conferences. I think the most I heard her report on this was before day one when she said that her and Charlie's parents were going to be at the hearing and that they're not going to make any more comments at that time. So I don't know what he was talking about. And quite frankly, shame on the defense for how unruly that Burke was acting today in court. That was unacceptable. So now that I got my rant out about Burke and, of course, Robinson earlier, it's time to talk about what's going to happen next. So tomorrow, the defense is going to call one more witness, and it's going to be short, and the hearing's going to likely conclude by noon, so by their lunch break. But this part won't be televised, but the Kirk family had requested that Exhibit 12.1 be played just for the court, which was basically the surveillance video of Robinson at UVU the 4 separate times, but this would have been the edited version with all the zooms and the circles. So that will be played for the family tomorrow after they conclude the hearing, but that won't be recorded by the public. But like I said, tomorrow the preliminary hearing will conclude by lunchtime, by noon. After that, it's what they're going to call the bindover. So, their bindover arguments. I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure what, the briefing or the bindover arguments are, so I'm not going to comment on that at this time because I'm not that educated on it. I just know the state's opening brief will be July 28th, 2026. The defense's response will be August 11th, 2026. And then state's reply will be August 18th, 2026. And then the oral argument, which I believe will be the final part of the bindover argument, will be September 1st. So I assume that'll be an in-person final arguments between them. Like I said, I'm not too sure what the bindover argument thing is or the briefings, so I'd have to learn more about that, which I imagine they will give us more details about tomorrow before I comment on that. But that's kind of about it for today's hearing. So that was my review of day 4 of Robinson's preliminary hearing. Like I said, I'll live stream tomorrow, and I'm not sure what time I will be doing my review of that. But it should end around, lunchtime, noon, I think. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching this, Patriots, and see y'all tomorrow. Hopefully not around the same time, but yeah. Appreciate y'all.